So my name is Alon Anava, and tonight you're going to hear my personal story, how I became religious, how 14 years ago I had a near-death experience. Since the story is very long, I don't do so much of an introduction because it's not so important. The most important thing to understand, and you already saw the picture on the card, and whoever didn't see the card, then ask your neighbor to look at the card. I grew up in the most secular, not religious family in Israel. And the ones of you who know how the secular people in Israel are, that's how I was, times that 1,000. I hated religion. I hated anything that had to do with religion. I despised religious people. I didn't want to believe in anything. I was like a brick wall. When I was 23, I came to the United States. And when I was 28, the whole thing happened. And the whole thing happened on a very, very special day. It happened on a Shabbat. But more than that, it happened on Untitled Nisan, the 14th day of Nisan, which the 14th day of Nisan is the morning of Pesach. The 15th day of Nisan is when we do Leil Seder. The 14th day is when we burn the chametz, when we get ready. Now, why is it so special? Because when I was a little kid and they told me about Pesach, they told me 3,000 years ago, all the Jews were slaves in Mitzrayim. And then came this guy with a very long beard. His name was Moishele. And he did some hocus pocus. And he got everybody out. And then we went to Mount Sinai to get the Torah. And since then we eat matzot. But don't really believe in it, because it's a fairy tale. In Hebrew they call it Haggadah. Haggadah is to say. But in Hebrew, Agadah is a fairy tale. So they told me it's not a Haggadah, it's an Agadah. Don't believe in it. The reality is that that time, this specific day, a very special godly light came down to the world. We talked about before, about the auspicious times that you get a sale. This was a very special time that a very special godly light came down to the world that permeated the power in the world that every Jew can leave his limitations, leave his Mitzrayim, leave his slavery into spiritual freedom. Now, slavery is not necessarily carrying bricks. Slavery is anything that puts you in this world as a slave to it. And this is the time that it gives the power for every Jew to leave his limitations, leave his slavery into spiritual freedom. And that's the day that it happened. Now, before we even start, I want to ask you a few things. The first thing is, if you can hold the questions till the end, I promise you I'm going to answer anything at the end. Anything that is not clear, I'll answer you. The important thing is because there's a very big crowd, and if I stop for every second to a question, we'll never finish. And most people don't want to hear your questions. So when half the questions that you have will probably be answered as I speak. So try to keep the questions till the end. I promise you at the end I'm going to answer whatever you want. You can interrogate me. And another important thing to remember is that mainly what I'm going to share with you tonight is what I remember from my experience. But since the entire thing is so not related to this world, then I use my own words to describe it. And you have to understand that I remember every little detail in my mind. It's engraved in my mind like as if it happened this morning. But I have to use my own words. And it's almost as impossible to tell a blind person that was born blind, never saw anything, and you try to explain to that blind person how the color blue looks. You can't. He never saw anything. So you tell this person, okay, blue, the sky is blue. He tells you, yeah, but I never saw the sky. You say to him, okay, the ocean is blue. Yeah, but I never saw the ocean. So it doesn't matter what you're going to try to describe it, he never saw it. So anything that I remember, there's no such a thing in this world. So I use my own words to describe it. So it's very important that you don't take every little word and, mishmash it. So it all starts on a very special day. It's Friday night, and it's Erev Pesach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niya medoro. Friday night, it's Erev Pesach. Me and my friends go to a party. You can see by the picture what type of a party. We weren't really playing bingo there. And towards the end of the party, somebody from the friend passes around the smoking device that you use to smoke drugs. And I don't really know what's in it or what I'm taking. And suddenly I start feeling very, very sick. but not sick that I have to throw up, or sick that I'm dizzy. I felt like I'm about to die. And there was a friend with me. I told her we got to leave. I feel like I'm about to explode. So we leave the building, somewhere in the west side in Manhattan. All I wanted to do is to go home. I get into a cab. I sit in the back seat. And as the car starts driving, I start suffocating. I start choking. I can't breathe. So I'm opening the window. Maybe that will help. And suddenly, the whole world froze like a picture. Like you're watching a movie, and you click the pause button, and the movie stops. The whole world froze. Like the world didn't have any existence. And everywhere that I look, the world is a picture, doesn't move. And my mind is racing 1,000 miles an hour, and all that I could think of is that I'm about to leave this world. I know I'm about to die. And I know I'm about to meet this famous God that everybody was talking about. And I realized for the first time in my life that everything I have in this world is staying behind. And I had a lot. Had a lot of money. Had a big company. Had a gorgeous car. A beautiful house. Everything that you want to wish for yourself, I had already. And I realized the first time in my life that everything that I was running after my entire life was nonsense. Everything that I own and have is staying behind. And the only thing that I can take with me, I don't have. I'm coming up to Shamayim empty-handed. There's one thing that I can take with me. And I don't even have one. That's a mitzvah. I don't even have one mitzvah. And a lot of people tell me, how do you know? What do you mean you knew you're leaving the world? You knew that you're dying. There's a level that is called hasaga, understanding, grasping. When you experience something, you know exactly what's going on. If you have a headache, or if you're hungry, or if you're happy, whatever emotion you're feeling, you know what you're feeling. If you have a headache, nobody can come and tell you, you don't look like you have a headache. You look like you're fine. Yeah, but I feel the pain. And if you're starving, nobody can come and tell you, no, you're fine. I think you can eat till tomorrow. You can wait till tomorrow. What do you mean? I feel the pain. How do you feel the pain? I just feel the pain. Can you explain the pain? No. So when you experience something, an emotion or a thought, you know what you are going through. So I knew I'm about to leave this world. And I knew I'm about to meet this famous God. And I'm sitting in the back seat of the car, trembling from fear. Because I know that everything that I ran after for 28 years is staying behind. Nothing is going with me. I can't take my credit card up. And the feeling was extreme, like as if, imagine a person, chas v'shalom, decides to kill himself. He goes and chooses the biggest bridge in the neighborhood, goes, climbs on the top, looks down, takes a deep breath, and jumps. Imagine what's going on in that person's mind the second his feet leave the ground. What did I do? I just killed myself. Now I can't jump up, and I have about a minute before I hit the ground. That's how it felt. What did I do? I just wasted 28 years of my life. Now I can reverse my life and have about a minute before I'm out. That's how it felt. And I knew I can't do anything. And the feeling was the most strongest remorse that I ever had. Like, what did I do? Why did I do this? Why did I steal this? Why did I lie here? Why didn't I do that? Now we know there's a concept in Yahadut, in Judaism, that is called tshuva, to repent. Now what does it mean? It means that I have to do things. Not only to say that I'm sorry, it has to come with actions. I have to do mitzvot, I have to stop doing sins, I have to forgive, ask for forgiveness, I have to return things that I took. Doing tshuva is a process. It can take a whole lifetime to do tshuva. But there's another concept that is called hirhur tshuva. Just thinking of doing tshuva. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says in the Zohar that if a person does severe sins and en lo chelek l'olam haba, he completely ruined his olam haba. He does hirhur tshuva, just thinks of tshuva, a second before he dies, yesh lo chelek l'olam haba. He opens some type of a gap in the world to come that he can go out with the one thought. This whole thing felt like maybe 20 minutes. 20 minutes and I'm looking around, the world is a picture, nothing moves. And I'm doing tshuva in the back seat of the car. Hey, I should have done that. Why did I do this? Why did I take here? Why did I steal this? Why did I cheat here? I feel like kicking myself in my head. And suddenly, I don't know where it came from. I cover my eyes and I say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. But not Hashem. I say Hashem's name, exactly how we read in the Pasuk. And a lot of people ask me, if you're so secular, how do you know how to say Kriyat Shema? The reality is, I didn't. But the reality is that we know our sages teach us that when the baby is in the mother's womb for 9 months, he has a roommate, an angel that teaches him the entire Torah. Everything. And then when he finishes to teach him the entire Torah, he takes him for a tour. Here's your day of birth. Here's your family. Here's where you're going to live. Here's where you're going to grow up. This is your first birthday, second birthday, third birthday. He shows him the entire life. Here you're going to get married. This is your wife. This is your kids. And at the end of the tour, he takes him to the cemetery and he says, you see that lot over there? You see that there? That's your lot. That's where you're going to end. For 9 months, he's preparing him. And the second the baby comes out of the mother's womb, stands the Satan outside, hits him on his mouth, makes him forget the entire Torah. But a second before the neshama leaves the body, this angel appears again. Hey, remember me? We were roommates for 9 months, remember me? And he reminds him everything. A second before the neshama leaves the body, it remembers every detail from the tour. So I knew everything in 1 second. And I knew the only thing that it can actually maybe save me is doing one mitzvah, saying Kriyat Shema. Saying Shema Yisrael is a mitzvah from the Torah. A man has to say twice a day, Kriyat Shema. I couldn't do any other mitzvah. I couldn't put tefillin, I couldn't give tzedakah, I couldn't do anything. But I could say Kriyat Shema. More than that, when one says Kriyat Shema, he says, there's only you. I'm nothing. En od milvado, only one, there's only you. So a second before I leave, I say Kriyat Shema, I say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And as I finish saying it, my body falls down on the girl that is sitting next to me. And I'm lying on her legs, and I'm in the cab. You know, in the cabs there's this partition between the front and the back. I see this partition, and I feel like I'm diving out of my eyes. I'm leaving my body, through my eyes, I'm diving out of my eyes like you dive into a pool, head first. And I wake up in the weird place that I don't see anything or I don't feel anything. But the first thing that hits me is that there's no sound. Complete silence. And we don't realize how much noise is around us all day long. If you're all going to be now quiet for 30 seconds, you're going to hear the air conditioning. Even if they turn the air conditioning off, you'll hear cars from outside. You always hear something. Even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're in the mountains and all the windows are closed, you still hear some type of buzz in your ear. There was nothing, no sound, dead, mute, nothing. But this silence was the most peaceful and calm feeling I ever felt. The second thing that I feel is that I don't have any body. I'm like a cloud. I'm everywhere. And we don't realize how our body is this sack of bones, and everything that I want to do, I have to carry the sack of bones with me. If I want to go now over there, I have to carry 200 pounds with me. If I want to raise my hands, 40 pounds I have to lift up. And I can only be here. And suddenly I'm like a cloud. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. And the third thing that I feel is that I'm like, there's no time. I don't have a watch on my hand. I don't have to go anywhere. No emails, no Facebook, no WhatsApp, no nothing. The most peaceful, calm feeling you can ever imagine. Now, as all this is happening, which I don't know if it's a second or a year, because there's no time, I still have my thoughts running in my mind. Now the thing is that every person has their thoughts. Every human being has their thoughts running in their mind 24/7. Now, while you're busy doing things, you don't concentrate on your thoughts. But when you're sitting by yourself in traffic, or in the shower, or in bed, your thoughts are running in your mind. And you have conversations with yourself. You tell yourself jokes, you plan your day, sometimes you annoy yourself, sometimes you argue with yourself, sometimes you tell yourself a little bit of Lashon Hara. Now if you're American, you think in English. If you're Israeli, you think in Hebrew. Whatever language you grew up with, that's the language that's going on in your thoughts. So I was thinking to myself, what's going on? Where am I? How did I get here? What just happened? What's going on? So this voice is answering me and telling me, you died. This is your death. I'm like, what? That's how I die? And this voice is telling me, yeah, you just died. And I'm like, that's how I die? That's the end of the movie? That's how the story ends, just like that? Lights out? The voice is telling me, yeah, this is your death. And it's kind of pointing down. Now there wasn't a hand, there wasn't an eyes to see. It was more like understanding, like a dream. It is called hasaga, comprehension. It's kind of pointing, I understand, it's telling me, look down. And I look down like this, and I'm like the height of like a ceiling. Not this height ceiling, but a normal ceiling. And I look down and I see my body on the girl in the cab from above. This voice is telling me, this is your death, you died. And I'm like, that's how I die? In the back seat of a car? In New York? That's how they're going to remember me? It was the weirdest thought. Because the reality is that nobody really thinks of their death. I guarantee that nobody sits at home and says, I wish I could die like that. Nobody does it. And if chas v'shalom, a person already is thinking of their death, so they say, at least let me die like when I'm 90 years old, with 50 grandkids and millions of dollars to give out, and after I conquered the whole world. And if I have to die young, then at least give me a good death. Let me go like on a motorbike, like 300 miles an hour, crash into a wall, give me something with action. What is this? This is how I die? Like a sack of potatoes in the backseat of a car? It was the weirdest thought I ever had. But as this is going, I don't feel any pain. No pain, no sorrow, no nothing, no feelings. I'm flying over my body, and it's like a movie, and the star of the movie died, and that's it, we're moving on. And as this is going, which I don't know if it's a second or an hour or a week, because there's no time, but I feel like I'm being pulled up a little, and a little bit higher, and a little bit higher, like an elevator that pulls me up. And the more I get pulled higher, the more I see beneath me. And I'm, the car is driving in the streets of Manhattan, and I'm flying over the car. Wherever the car goes, I'm going. And I'm already at the height of like maybe 2 or 3 floors. And suddenly something very weird happens. I feel like I dive into this girl's body that my body is on, and within a split second I see her entire life. From the day she was born till that day, I see her entire life. But it's not that I'm like sitting like this and looking at a screen. I'm in her body. And I'm living her life. And I'm feeling her emotions. She's happy, I'm happy. She's sad, I'm sad. She has pain, I feel the pain. And I see like thousands of scenes. I don't see it like in order, like baby 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I see thousands of different scenes of her life, and I'm in the scene. And I see like the past and the present at the same time. And then I see like a little step into the future, and I see how they're telling my parents in Israel that I died. And I see my parents crying, and I see my sisters crying. I see like a little step into the future. And I see everything at the same time. This girl's past, what's going on in the present, and a little bit into the future. And a lot of people ask me, I can somehow understand that you are hovering over your body and you saw what's going on beneath you. I can somehow relate to that. But I don't understand how you can see the past, see the present, and see the future. That doesn't make sense. So the short explanation to that is when our neshama, when our soul is in our body, it's limited to the body. So the body can only see from here a couple miles. And the body can only hear a certain amount of distance. And the body can only carry a certain amount of weight. And the body can only live in the present. The body cannot see in the past, cannot see in the future, can only be in the present, and can only see and do what the body allows it to do. But once the soul leaves the body, it has no limitations. The soul can see from here to the other side of the earth with no problem. The soul can be at the same time present at 50,000 conversations. Hear it, see it, and be there with no limitations. The soul can see the past, the present, the future. The soul has no limitations. So I was able to see this girl's past, what's going on in the present, and a little bit into the future. And as all this is happening, the car is driving in the streets of Manhattan. I'm being pulled a little bit higher and a little bit higher. And then the car went under this little bridge, under this little overpass. And I went into the overpass. And I suddenly see, I like calling it the graphic design of the world. And I'll tell you what I mean. Imagine now you're looking at a website. Gorgeous website. Beautiful. Beautiful colors, beautiful design, beautiful pictures. You click a button, opens a page, click a button, starts playing a video. What would you see if hypothetically you would remove the screen? What would you see? You would see the code that creates the website. Now, if you're not a designer or a coder, you don't understand anything. It's just a bunch of letters that doesn't make sense. But how really does it work? Some guy sits, writes a code, clicks on a button, and voila, beautiful website. How come I don't see the code? Because there's a design on the screen that doesn't allow me to see the code. The same exact way, that's how God creates the world. God creates the world with a code. It says, "Ba'asara ma'amarot nivra olam." With 10 speeches, the world was created. God speaks, and He creates the world. And how does He create the world? He takes 22 sophisticated tools, the 22 letters of Lashon Kodesh, the holy language of Hebrew, and He writes a code. He puts all the letters together. Then He clicks a button and voila, beautiful world. How does it work? God takes these letters and creates a code. We just don't see the code because we have a screen on our eyes that we just see the design, but we don't see the code. And the thing is, a lot of people think that God created the world and then went out for lunch. The reality is, if for 1 second Hashem pulls out, the world doesn't exist anymore. Our sages say, every second Hashem recreates the world. Every second Hashem injects power into the world. If Hashem stops for 1 second, the world doesn't exist anymore. And everything in the world has this godly power. Everything. Animals have it. Inanimates have it. Tables. Everything. Stones. Everything has this godly power. The Arizal calls it nefesh. Nefesh chaya. Everything has a godly power, an energy that enlivens it. We just don't see it. We just see the design. But if somebody would remove this design, you would see the godly power that creates the world. And the second that I was pulled into this bridge, I saw this godly power. Everywhere that I look, I see letters. Millions and millions of letters. And I'm able to read the code, and I understand what I see. And not because I'm Israeli and I know Hebrew. Because the soul only knows Lashon Kodesh. There's only one language in Shamayim. You don't go up with Google Translate. There's only one language in Shamayim, Lashon Kodesh. All the souls know it. And I'm able to read the code, and I understand what I see. And it literally felt like I'm there, I'm not exaggerating, maybe 50,000 years. 50,000 years of unbelievable information. And how long does it take a car to go under a little bridge? Maybe 2 seconds. Now as all this is happening, I feel that I'm getting pulled a little bit higher, and a little bit higher, and a little bit higher. At some point, I was like the height of like maybe 20 or 30 floors, flying over the city. Now at this point, the girl already figured out that something's going wrong. So the car is already racing to the hospital. And the car is driving fast in the streets of Manhattan, and I'm like a magnet over the car. Wherever the car is going, I'm going. And at some point, the exact way how I dived into this girl's body and I saw her entire life, I was going through the buildings in the city, and instantly I saw everything that's going on in the buildings. Like as if there wasn't walls. Imagine you're standing in front of a building, and you see hundreds of apartments, but you just see the windows. It was like as if the wall was removed, there wasn't walls, and I'm able to see in each apartment what's going on. Hundreds and hundreds of apartments, I see what's going on. Hundreds of people. And the same way how I'm in this girl's body and I see her entire life, these hundreds of people, I see their life. Like as if I'm sitting here and I know all of you what's going on in your mind. Every one of you, I know what's going on in your mind, what you had for breakfast, where you were born, what's your birthday, what's your favorite color, what you did last night. Every little thing, I know about each individual person. And I see in this building, one apartment, I see like a boy sitting and reading. One apartment, I see a couple fighting. One apartment, I see somebody eating. I see like, what's going on? And every person, I'm in their mind, I'm reading their mind. And each one is like an individual encounter. Thousands of people. And I feel their emotions, I read their mind, I know every little detail about them. And here I always stop to say a funny story, that when I went on my first date with my wife, I told her this story. Now, I was like 70% religious, she was like 18.5% religious. The rabbi thought it's going to be a good match. He put us on a date, and we're sitting in a coffee shop, and she tells me, I hear you have this crazy story how you became religious. So I told her, you want to hear it? I'll tell you. So I told her the long version. Tonight, you're getting the short version. She got like the long version, which was like a 9-hour date. Now, the next day, she told me that the next day after this date, she threw all her pants away. Now, not that she became cuckoo and she started walking in the streets naked. Rather, she started, instead of wearing pants, change her wardrobe for dresses. Now, why am I saying that she was 12.5% religious? Because she grew up in America very, very secular. And then when she was in college, she met a rabbi who invited her to a Shabbat meal. Then he invited her to a Hanukkah party. Then he invited her to a Purim party. And he started introducing religion to her. And one time she was dressed modest, one time she was not, one time she was eating kosher, one time she was not, one time keeping Shabbat, one time not. She was like yo-yo, bouncing. And 10 years later, she's sitting in a date in front of me. And she told me, you know, for 10 years I'm bouncing with this whole religious thing. And I didn't have a problem with believing in God. I knew there's a God. I knew I have a soul. I knew we have a Torah. I knew the mitzvot. I believed in anything. I didn't have a problem with that. I just had one problem, one question that nobody was able to answer, which stopped me from becoming observant. But you were able to hit the nail on its head with your story. And from the entire story, what did it for me was the part with the building. And you know what was my question? I'll tell you what was my question. How can you explain that there's 7 billion people in the world? And you want to tell me that God knows everybody? No, it can't be. He cannot know 7 billion people. So you know what? Let's ignore all the people in the world. Let's just concentrate on the observant Jews. You want to tell me that on Yom Kippur, 3 million people in the same second, all in the synagogue, all praying, and God can hear 3 million people? No, I don't believe it. It can't be. I understand that He knows the famous ones, and I understand that He listens to the big rabbis. But me? He doesn't even know me. So what's the point? Why should I be just modest? What, He's looking at me? Why should I say a blessing when I put something in my mouth? Does He care? Why should I bother praying? He doesn't even know me. And she told me, when you told me that you, what are you? Like a soul flying in the air, like a leaf in the wind. You were able to see in this building thousands of people and hear their thoughts and know their emotions and feelings, and you were able to know each and every person what's going on, made me realize that so much more so, the master of the universe, how he knows every little creature in this world. Nothing moves in this world without the supervision of God. Not even a little animal, not even a little insect. An ant doesn't even move without the supervision of God. Nothing moves in this world without the exact, direct supervision of the master of the universe. So much more so an animal, so much more so a human being, and alachat kama vekama, so much more so a Jew that prays to God. You know what it means? Hashem moves all his business. What? You called me? What did you say? You don't even understand. You say something, you praise God, he stops the world just to hear you saying thank you. And it's like a personal encounter, like as if there's nothing in the world, just you and God. You are in pain, God feels your pain. You're happy, he feels your happiness. You are excited, he's there. He's excited with you. He's just waiting. Just say thank you. Just acknowledge that I'm here. And my wife told me, it made me realize, wait a minute, he's looking at me. This is embarrassing, I have to cover myself. And now I have to start thanking when I put something in my mouth. This is embarrassing not to thank him. And now I can pray, because I know he's listening to me. And in 2 weeks, she changed her life. And 2 weeks later, when I offered her to marry me, she agreed. Up until today, she doesn't figure it out. Every night I disappear, come home at 3 o'clock in the morning. But Baruch Hashem, I think she made a good choice. She also thinks that. She's a smart woman. She has 50% in the deal. She lets me go every night to give lectures. Anyways, so I got my first Jew nailed. Anyways, up until this point, what I told you now is maybe a fraction of the beginning. But up until this point, everything was amazing. I'm flying over the city. I'm getting a free tour, aerial tour of Manhattan. People pay thousands of dollars to fly over the city. I made it for free. Everything is good. Everything is amazing. I'm seeing these godly revelations our mind cannot even understand. And I feel that I'm being pulled higher and higher and higher. At some point I'm like flying over the world. But without any preparation, without any warning, I feel something grabs me from behind. And within a split second, I wake up in this pitch black place. I don't see nothing. I don't feel anything. I don't know where I am. All I feel is that something is holding me. Like 100,000 pounds is on me, squashing me. Not normal pain. I feel this thing that is holding me is trying to pull me through a funnel, and the entire walls of the funnel are full of blades, and the more it's pulling me, it's like ripping pieces from my soul. And every time it rips a piece from my soul, I feel this not normal pain. And I don't know where I am, and I don't know what's holding me. I don't know anything. I just see this thick darkness, this universe of darkness, extremely, extremely scary, because I don't know where I am, I don't know how I got there, I don't know what's holding me, I don't know nothing. I just know that something is squashing me, excruciating pain, and it's like pulling me up, and every second it's becoming worse and worse, and excruciating pain. And it literally feels, I'm not exaggerating, maybe thousands of years that I'm in this darkness, in this dark bubble, and it's getting worse and worse and more painful and more scary. The most scariest part was that I didn't know if I'm ever going to get out of there. Because when you have a definition to something is bad, it makes the suffering not so bad, because you know there's an end. But if there's no definition to something bad, that's what drives you insane, because you don't know if it will ever finish. Like an insane anxiety. And at some point, after thousands of years in this torture, I kind of figured out what's going on. From the simple reason is that in the world above, there's only one reality. And this reality is called truth, emet. And in this world below, there are two realities, truth and a lie. And a person can create a lie in this world, create up a story, and nobody will ever know. But it only works in this world. In the world above, there's not such a reality. There's only the reality of truth. There's only one side to the coin. You can't change the sides. There's only truth. You can't bend the truth. You can't make up a truth. You can't hide behind anything. The truth is as it is. So I knew exactly where I am. I knew exactly who I was, where I'm going, what is holding me. I knew everything. And I knew that I'm going to the worst place in the universe. And there's really no words to describe the pain and the fear and everything. If I would try to explain it, it will take me hours just to try to explain every little thing that I saw and experienced. But just take my word that it was the most scariest, painful thing in the universe. And at some point I realized, where is it coming from? And it was coming from a very simple thing. That I didn't even have one little connection to God. Not even one string connecting me to God. Now the Zohar explains, the holy book of Zohar explains, that between our soul to God, there's a rope that is connecting us. And the same way that in the physical world, if you look at a rope is built from many, many thin strings. Same way in the spiritual rope. This spiritual rope that's connecting our soul to God is built from 613 strings, corresponding to 613 mitzvot that we have in the Torah. And if a person keeps the Torah entirely, then his rope, his spiritual rope, is 100% perfect. And then that person goes and does one sin, so he cuts one string. And then he does another sin and cuts another string. And then he forgets to do one mitzvah, then he cuts another string. And then he does a few more. So 10, 20, 30 out of 613, it's not the end of the world. But then he goes and cuts more and more and more. At some point the rope is like all flimsy. Unfortunately, in this world, one can do one act, and in one act, cut the entire string. One act. A person eats chametz on Pesach, v'nichreta hanefesh ha'ih me'amea. One act, one crumb, and the whole rope gets cut off. A person eats on Yom Kippur, drives on Yom Kippur, works on Yom Kippur, v'nichreta hanefesh ha'ih. One shot, the whole rope gets cut off. There are 36 acts that one can do, that the result is correct, that the whole rope gets cut off. 36, 34 negative, 2 are positive. A lot of them have nothing to do with us, but a lot of them have a lot to do with us. Pesach, Yom Kippur, all the forbidden relations, Shabbat, circumcision. One act, the person cuts this entire connection. One act. This torture that I felt was the result from this act. I didn't even have one connection to God. The source of life, I didn't even have a connection. Like a fish that you pull out of the water, give the fish a few seconds and it dies. It has to be in the water. The neshama has to have a connection to God. If he doesn't have a connection to God, then it doesn't have a connection to the source of life. Now, while the soul is in the body, it doesn't feel it. A person can live his life 60, 70, 80 years, sin all day long. There's no connection. The soul got cut off. Doesn't feel anything. Because the body hides the neshama. A person can stand next to the light on Shabbat, turn on, off, on, off, on, off. Nothing's happening. Yeah. You don't see nothing happening. But in the spiritual level, that's it. The soul got cut off. 40, 50, 60 years, you're not going to feel nothing. That's the problem, that the neshama is hidden in the body, you don't feel nothing. The second the neshama gets pulled out of the body, the neshama gets choked. Because the only source of life is God. There's only one source. En od milvado, there's nothing else. And a person can do a mitzvah in this world and doesn't feel anything. A young lady came to our house not too long ago on Shabbat. My wife told her, you want to light candles? She was like, you want to make it romantic? My wife was like, no, we light candles every Shabbat. You want to light candles? She was like, why? She was like, well, that's a mitzvah from Hashem, and when you light candles, you get connected to God, you bring God and you invite God into your life. She gives you the whole spiel. So she lights the candles, she says the bracha, and then I see her looking at the ceiling. So I also look at the ceiling. And I was like, maybe there's a leak. After a minute of both of us looking at the ceiling, I'm telling her, are you waiting for something? She was like, I'm waiting for something to happen. So I said, what do you mean you're waiting for something to happen? She told me, my wife told you, your wife told me that when I light candles, I get, God comes into the world and I get connected to Him. I want to see. I told her, what do you think, a check is going to fall from the ceiling? 30 years you live your life how you live your life, you think one mitzvah, that's it, you're going to faint? It doesn't work like that. She was looking at the ceiling. I told her, no. You know how much work you have to do to feel something? We live and we do mitzvot in this world. We don't feel that we got connected. I don't feel. I put tefillin on. You think I feel something? I put tefillin on because everybody puts tefillin on, and I know it's a mitzvah. That's it. Very few people will put tefillin on and they actually feel their soul getting connected with God. When you translate the word mitzvah, commandment, it's kind of the wrong translation. That's the problem when people take Hebrew words and they translate it to English. Commandment, mitzvah is not necessarily a commandment. Mitzvah comes from the word tzavta. Tzavta is a connection, a very deep and strong connection, a connection that cannot be separated. That's what's called a mitzvah. When I do a mitzvah, I get connected to God. 100%. You can't separate me now. That's a mitzvah. I'm wearing tefillin for 50 minutes every morning. 50 minutes I'm connected with God. My soul, I'm not going to feel it because I have a body. Unfortunately, when we do the opposite, when I'm doing a sin, I don't feel what's going on. I can live 60 years and not feel that my soul is chopped off. Some people might feel it. Some people are sensitive. They do something bad. They lie, they steal, they cheat. They feel pain in their body. The reality was that I didn't have one connection to the Master of the universe. This torture that I felt for thousands of years was the result that I don't have a connection to the Master of the universe. This feeling was suffocating. Imagine now you take a person and choke him. He needs air. Human beings needs air. The soul needs a connection to God. And this torture that I felt was a result of no connection to God. And I knew that the only thing that can reverse this situation is only God. Nothing else. No money, no lawyers, no nothing. Only God. And I'm screaming to Hashem, help me. Save me. Get me out of this. I'll do whatever you want. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. I'll be the best Jew in history. I'll grow a beard from here to the ground. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. Just get me out of here. 1 billion years of torture, nothing. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. Complete darkness. And I'm screaming to Hashem, help me, I'll do whatever you want. I'll be the best Jew in history. Nothing. 2 billion years of suffering, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm saying 2 billion years so you can understand how long it felt, like eternity. Suddenly I see a dot of light, a microscopic dot of light. And it sounds like a cliche, like the light at the end of the tunnel. But that's how it looked, like a microscopic dot of light, like a little star. And I knew that if I somehow get to this light, then I'll be saved. And I'm screaming to Hashem, help me, I'll do whatever you want, forgive me. This light is coming closer to me, and closer to me, and closer to me, and closer to me, and bigger and bigger. At some point there was nothing but this light. Everywhere that I look, I see this light, this bright white light. And I know that behind this screen of light is the master of the universe. The Melech Malchei HaMelachim in his glory is behind this screen of light. And when I look into this light, I see a shape of a triangle. And everywhere I look is this light. And I know 100%, no questions, no ifs, no maybes. The master of the universe is behind this light. And it felt like something reached out from the light, grabbed me and pulled me in. And within a split second that I was sucked into this light, I only found one way to describe how it felt. Besides not normal pleasure, it felt, imagine now you take a phone, a smartphone, a piece of metal that if it's not connected to the internet, it's a worthless piece of metal. All you can do with it is take pictures. That's it. Maybe you can play a few apps. That's it. But what happens when you take this little piece of metal and you connect it to the internet? Within a split second, any question you have, any information you want to know, any place you want to go to, you just click a few letters and you have access. Right on the spot. All you need to do is type your question in Google, and in a second, this worthless piece of metal becomes the most intelligent thing. That's how I felt. Like I'm a little nothing, and I got connected to the source of information, and within a split second, all the wisdom of the universe was downloaded into me. Instantly I was a genius. Instantly. All the wisdom of the universe was in the tip of my hand. I saw all this wisdom. Instantly I was a genius. There's no words to describe it. I saw everything, how the world, all the secrets of the world. Now nothing to do with this world. This world, when I looked back at this world, it looked like a prehistoric planet. Like two little kids playing with Lego and they get excited because they build a little tower. That's how this world looked. We see this technology in our world and we get all excited because we are like, whoa, real fancy now with technology. This world is like a prehistoric planet. When the souls look down, they laugh at this world. The souls are so intelligent. Instantly I was a genius. There wasn't one detail in the universe that I didn't know. And this information came like in two channels. The first channel was that instantly I was a genius. I knew everything. And knowing this information was crazy pleasure. Not normal pleasure. It felt like I'm getting electrified from pleasure. Standing under a waterfall, getting washed from endless information. And this information is like washing me. I'm going crazy from pleasure, just seeing and understanding this divine information. And the second channel this information came, that I saw the entire world from the day it was created till the end of the days, one long panoramic picture. Genius master plan. Everything made sense. I'm seeing this long picture from the first day the world was created till the end. Unbelievable genius master plan. Remember when we were kids, there was these drawings that there was a lot of dots, and then you take the pen and you connect all the dots and it becomes a picture? Everything was connected. I'm looking at the plan, I'm I can't believe it. Genius. Who's the genius who made it? All the dots were connected. Everything made sense. Every little detail that doesn't make sense to us in this world made sense. I saw the entire picture. And what the problem is, how we look at this world, we only see one or two or maybe three pieces of this entire plan. So we judge the world according to what we see. So we see in this world death and car accidents and diseases and suffering and holocausts and terror attacks. Horrible things. And a normal person says, where is this God that you're talking about that's supposed to be so good? Why is he torturing us here? Yeah, well, you only see one piece of the puzzle. That's how you're judging the entire scene. Imagine how you take a 300-piece puzzle, take all the pieces, don't look at the cover, so you can't see the picture. Throw all the pieces on the table, and pick up one piece and look at the piece and try to figure out what the picture is. You can't. It looks like a stain, like a blur. That's how we look at this world. We're looking at one piece out of a billion-piece puzzle. So you're looking at the world and nothing makes sense. Nothing. And nothing will ever make sense because you're holding only a few pieces. And I saw the entire picture condensed into one picture. Genius master plan. Genius! Can't believe it. Who designed it? Everything made sense. And I'm getting this not normal pleasure, just looking at it and understanding the master plan. But as all this is happening, I'm stuck in a bubble. And I'm trying to get what I see, and I have no connection to it. Like I'm isolated from what I'm seeing. And as I'm feeling this not normal pleasure, I feel the complete opposite, this torture, that I'm trying to get it, and I can't. I'm totally isolated. Like as if they're telling me, we're very sorry. You chose to be on the beach. You have nothing to do here. You gotta go. What do you mean you gotta go? Leave me here. No, you can't stay here. You cannot stay here even one more second. You gotta go. And I'm like, going crazy. What? You can't take me away from here. Just seeing this not normal pleasure. Leave me here. No, you gotta go. You have no connection in this place. It was such a tease. It was like telling a little kid, come, I'm going to take you now to an ice cream store and I'm going to buy you ice cream. Really? Yeah, come, let's go. And the whole way to the ice cream store, you tell the kid, I'm going to buy you whatever you want. Ice cream and candy and chocolates and cookies. Whatever you want, I'm buying you. Really? And the kid's going crazy. Then you take the kid into the store and you walk him into the store and you tell the kid, look at all the candy, look at the cakes, the ice cream is over there, the lollipops are there. Okay, now we got to go home. Go home? You just brought me here. That's how it felt. They're giving me a tour of the universe and then they're telling me, yeah, okay, you got to go. What do you mean you got to go? It literally felt like they're ripping me out of this room. And I'm screaming, begging, no, 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 leave me here. What are you doing? You have no connection here. It was like seeing it and I'm trying to grab it like a hallucination. I can't grab it. There's no words to describe this torture that I'm being ripped out of this place. And they throw me into this huge room. I wake up in this huge, dark room. I don't see nothing. All I feel that I'm completely naked. Now I didn't have a body, so I wasn't naked from clothes. Rather, I was naked from mitzvot. Now our sages teach us that when a person does a mitzvah, a good deed, he creates himself a spiritual garment that the soul gets dressed in it. And then he does another mitzvah, another garment. Another mitzvah, another garment. And all the mitzvot, they sew a beautiful garment that the soul gets dressed into that garment, and that's the garment that it enters Gan Eden with. And that garment allows that soul to see godly revelation. Unfortunately, if a person does a sin, he creates a blemish, a stain on the garment. Now, if it's a small sin, it's a small stain. If it's a big sin, it's a big stain. If it's a lot of sins, then it's a lot of stains. Now, if the person is smart, then he does tshuva in this world. Then comes Yom Kippur, washes off all the dirt. For most of the sins, a lot of the sins, Yom Kippur doesn't wash off the stains. But the person gets rid of it in this world. If the person is not smart, then he has to deal with the dry cleaning upstairs. My problem was that I didn't even have garments. I was standing there naked. And I'm looking around me, and everywhere that I look, I see millions of eyes looking at me. Millions. Everywhere that I look. All the souls of all the Jews from all generations are standing there looking at me. Oh, it was you. I'm the only wicked soul, and all the souls around me are righteous souls. And I'm like a transparent cup. They see through me. Every thought that I ever had, every word that came out of my mouth, every action that I ever did, everybody sees it. I'm totally transparent. They're all looking at me. There's no words to describe this shame that millions of souls, including you, the souls that are in this world, they know everything about me. Every thought that was in my mind, they saw. And I don't know what to do with myself. I'm totally naked. I don't even know where to bury myself from the shame. And worse than that, it felt like the entire room is full with the presence of God. How we say, lo chol haaretz kevodo. The Zohar says, velet atar panui mineh. There's not one place in the universe that doesn't have the presence of God. It felt like this entire room was the presence of God. And it felt like I'm standing like this, and God is in front of me. Vehinehu nitzav alav. I'm standing like this, like an embarrassed person. Somebody catches you on something embarrassing, you put your head down. You can't look in that person's eye. I feel that if I lift up my head, I see God. No questions, no ifs. I know I'm standing like this, and I'm so embarrassed. I can't even look straight. I know God is in front of me. Now, it doesn't feel like God is standing with a baseball bat like this, waiting for me to lift up my head so He can smash me. Some people think that. It felt like I broke Hashem's heart. Like as if Hashem is standing in front of me telling me, what did you do? What did you do? I sent you down to this world with a list this long of things to do. And a list this long of things not to do. Everything I told you to do, you didn't do. And everything I told you not to do, you did. You messed it up. You didn't even get one right. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so embarrassed. You know, there's no such of an embarrassment even in this world. This shame that I messed it up. In this world, to get somebody to be really embarrassed, it takes a lot. People don't care in this world. Somebody catches you on lying, somebody catches you that you cheated, he's a bigger thief than me. It's very hard to get embarrassed in this world, but imagine something embarrassing in this world, times that infinity. I didn't know what to do with myself from the shame. And I knew that if they're taking me to the next room, then I'm completely gone. And I'm like begging them, leave me here with all this shame for eternity, just don't take me there. Sure enough, they take me to the next room. They take me into the next room, and I don't see anything. It's like as if my face is covered. I can't see anything. I'm not allowed to see nothing. But I know that I'm in a courtroom. And I know that there are a line of judges in front of me. And I know that I'm about to be judged for every little thing that I did in my life. Everything. And I'm shaking from fear because I know every little thing, thank you, that I did in my life, now it's going to be out on the table. The amazing thing is that there's a Mishnah that says that when a person does a sin, he creates himself a prosecutor, a categor, that goes up to Shemaim and tells the heavenly court, look, he stole. Look, he cheated. Look, she lied. The same Mishnah continues and said that if a person did a good deed, then he creates himself a defense attorney, a sanegor, that goes up to Shemaim and says, okay, be easy on the guy. Look, he gave tzedakah, he was praying, he's a very nice person, he did these mitzvot. I don't know where I had the nerve. I look to my left and I see like battalions, rows of these prosecutors, rows of them, thousands of these scary angels, scary angels. Each one is holding like a file for everything that I ever did. Battalions, thousands of them, endless. I don't know where I got the chutzpah from. I look to my right and I see two defense attorneys. One is crippled, the other one was blind. The third one didn't want to show up that day. And they're telling me, you want to say something before we start? I'm like, what to say? Did you see my crippled attorneys? What can I say? At this point, they're showing me the movie of my life. I'm back in my body, in a very weird way, because I'm in my body, but I see myself. I'm like out of my body. And they're showing me the movie of my life. From the day I was born till that day. Slow motion. I see the entire movie, all my life. And every little thing is pointed out. Here you stole, here you lied, here you cheated, here you cursed, here you did this, here you did that. And every person that I ever lied to is standing next to me. What? Why? I don't know what to do with myself. And every person that I ever stole from is standing next to me. It was you! Why? And I don't know what to do with myself. You don't understand this embarrassment. In this world, somebody gets caught stealing. Somebody gets caught lying. People don't get embarrassed here. There's no words to describe this shame. I used to steal money from my mom when I was a teenager to buy cigarettes. My mom is standing next to me. Why? Why did you steal from me? Every little act that I ever did is there. Pointed out. Look, you stole here. Look, you lied. A horror movie. Horror movie. Now, they're not only showing me the actual sin, they're showing me the spiritual blemish that was caused by the sin. And I'll tell you what I mean. When a person does a sin, there's a chain reaction. The first thing that happens when a person does a sin, he didn't listen to the will of God, which when you think of it, is chutzpah. How dare you? The master of the universe told you to do something, and you don't listen. You say, I don't feel like it. I don't believe. I don't want to. Here, in this world, if a policeman will stop you and tell you to do something, of course, sir, yeah. A judge in this world will tell you to pay a fine, yeah, of course. Who do I make the check out to? The master of the universe tells you to do something and you say, I don't feel like it? How dare you? The second thing that happens when a person does a sin, he creates a blemish, a stain on his garment. If he's lucky, he does tshuva in this world. If he's not lucky, they're going to have to wash his soul upstairs. And sometimes the tshuva in this world hurts. You have to wash off the stain. You ever saw they dry clean a jacket, you send it to the dry cleaning? They steam it with steaming hot steam. The next thing that happens when a person does a sin, he creates an angel. The Gemara calls it Malach Habala, a destructive angel. An angel that goes up to the heavenly court and says, that person stole, he created me. The heavenly court tells that angel, you can go down and annoy him. That angel comes down to this world and annoys you all day long. So you get a ticket. Then you can't find parking. Then somebody runs into your brand new car. Then your phone falls into the toilet. All day long he's annoying you. A little mosquito, annoying you. For 2 hours you can't fall asleep. You want to go on a date, zit, this big on your forehead. All day long he annoys you, till you kill him. The funny thing is that we run into all sorts of issues. Who do we blame? God. Why is he doing it to me? I'm such a nice person. He's not doing anything to you. You did it. Worse than that, Kabbalah teaches us that when a person does a sin, he creates a spiritual energy, a negative energy, that is called klipa, like a shell, like a peel. You know, you look at an orange, has a peel, you don't eat the peel, you eat the actual fruit. You peel the orange, the peel is not edible, it's sour, it's disgusting, you throw it. When a person does a sin in this world, he creates this klipa, this energy that surrounds his soul, covers the soul, and diminishes the light of the soul. The soul is like a projector of light. You do a mitzvah, you radiate light. Then you do an averah, you cover that light. You do another one, and another one, and another one. You put these shields, these layers around your soul, that it diminishes the light of the soul, and the reaction is that the person doesn't have any connection to the soul. So you see people in our generation, you come and tell a person, you want to put tefillin on? Leave me alone. You tell a person, you want to come for a Shabbat meal? It's a Shabbat, I'm going to a party. You see this coldness to spirituality. Not because the person is bad, because the soul is completely hidden. And there's many types of klipot. Each klipa attacks the body like a virus. I call it a spiritual infection, because it attacks a limb in your body and it spreads by itself. This klipa attacks the soul and it puts in the soul doubt, disbelief, hate. When you have doubt in Hashem, it's not you, it's this klipa neutralizing the power of the soul. So you don't believe, you don't want to do, you don't have cheshek, you don't have koach to do anything. It's such a dangerous power, and you think it's yours, you think it's your intellect saying, no, this I don't believe, that doesn't make sense. This klipa is riding on your soul. Worse than all this, when a person does a sin, he creates a spiritual blemish in the spiritual world. And I'll tell you what I mean. Imagine now you go to there's a museum in Europe that there's a picture there this big. This picture is worth millions of dollars. Some guy, 300 years ago, put a canvas on the wall, took a bunch of paint, threw it at the canvas, went like that, and now this picture is worth millions of dollars. Millions of people going to this museum to marvel the work of art. And people are standing in front of the wall and saying, wow, look how he went like that. Now imagine somebody walks into this museum with a bucket of paint and throws the black paint on the picture and ruins the picture completely. So what's going to happen? First, he gets arrested. Then he goes to jail. Then he has to pay a fine. Then he goes through a whole process what he has to go through. He destroyed the picture. But what really he did? Really, he destroyed the picture. Now nobody in the world can enjoy the picture ever again. You cannot retouch the picture. You cannot Photoshop the picture. You cannot bring the guy to paint it again. He died 300 years ago. Now nobody in the world will enjoy this picture. This is the spiritual blemish that one person causes with one act in this world. So a lot of people are very selfish and they say, leave me alone, it's my world, it's my life, mind your own business, I'll do whatever I want. No, when you do an act, I get affected. You know, there's a famous story in the Midrash that once there was a ship, thousands of people on the ship. One guy in the lower deck was feeling a little bit stuffy, so he started drilling a hole in the wall. They came down to him. What are you doing? Are you out of your mind? Water's going to come into the ship and the whole ship is going to drown. We're all going to die. So he tells them, mind your own business. It's my room. I'll do whatever I want. Do whatever you want? The whole ship will drown. So when I do an act, you know, I meet a lot of people and they're very, very brave. They're telling me, I'm going to deal with it when I get there. They really know what they're going to deal with. They're very, very brave. Or more to say stupid. But a lot of people say, leave me alone, it's my life, I'll do whatever I want. No, you don't understand. When you do a bad act, I get affected. When you do a good act, I also get affected. When I do a mitzvah, the entire world benefits from it. When I do a sin, lo aleinu, the entire world gets affected. So not only that they showed me 28 years of sins, they showed me the damage that everybody's suffering from. So it was double the shame. Like everybody's looking at me like, why did you basically messed it up for us? 28 years of a horror movie. And I'm like, stop the movie, I got the point. At some point they're telling me, listen, Habibi, you're a lost case. You have nothing. So they tried to be real nice. They tried to lelamed zchut. So they said, okay, let's see what you have. So they took all my mitzvot and put them together. So they say, okay, let's see what we have here. So when I was 8 years old, my parents circumcised me. Now they didn't even ask my permission. They still did it. So they told me, okay, it's not even your mitzvah, it's your father's mitzvah, but you were circumcised, so we'll give you a mitzvah. And then when you were 13 years old, my grandfather, for my bar mitzvah, put tefillin on me. So they told me, you put tefillin on, we'll give you a mitzvah. And one time, $1 fell out of your pocket, and somebody hungry picked it up and bought something to eat, so we'll give you charity for that one. And one time you smiled to that person, and one time you helped that person, and one time you were good here, one time you were nice there, and they put all the mitzvahs together, and they're telling me, Habibi, you're a lost case. You have 99.9 bad and 0.0 nothing good. There's nothing to work with here. You don't even have barely nothing. Just that it seems that that's it, mince meat. They told me, listen, you are a lost case, but we're going to deal with you. You have two options. The first option is you go back to that black thing that brought you here, this malach hamavet, this angel of death that comes to rip the soul out of the body. You go back to him. He's going to take you wherever he needs to take you. He's going to finish the job, which that wasn't an option. Or you go back down to this world. And if you go back down to this world, you have three conditions. The first condition is that you have to live your life like a Jew. Now they're not telling me a definition what's a Jew. They're telling me Jew. They're not telling me Ashkenazi, Sfaradi, Breslev. They're not telling me. They're telling me Jew. All the Jews are the same in Shamayim. And to make sure that I understand what they're talking about, they're showing me a movie of my entire life forward. And I see myself with this long beard, dressed in a suit, and then I see my wife, and then I see my wedding, and then I see all my kids, and I see my entire life forward. And they're telling me, that's how you have to live your life, like a Jew. And you cannot come back here after 120 years and say, nobody told me. My parents didn't send me to yeshiva. That's not really a mitzvah. These fanatic religious people, they're making it up. You see the rules? These are the rules. See that line? That's the line you have to walk on. You can't bend the rules. You can't make up rules. You can remove rules. These are the rules. That's how you have to live your life, like a Jew. The second condition is, you have 28 years of debt. So today is your lucky day. From 0 to 13, we're giving you a coupon. We're forgiving you for everything you did till the age of 13. But from 13 to 28, you have 15 years of debt. So the fact that you stole somebody's credit card and went on a shopping spree and spent $100,000 on the card, and then you got caught, and then you're like, I'm so sorry, here's your card, I'll never use it again. Thank you for giving me back my card, but where's the $100,000 you spent? Now, not that I stole somebody's credit card, but they told me, look, you have 15 years of debt. You think becoming religious is putting a yarmulke on your head and growing a 2-foot long beard? No. You stole, you have to give it back. You cheated in business, you owe that person money. You insulted somebody, go and apologize. You have 15 years of debt. And the third condition is, you have to tell every person what you saw up here, down there. You can't go live in Alaska on a mountain. You have to tell every person that you meet what you saw up here. Now, I wasn't really in a position of telling them, you know what, maybe give me a day or two to think about it. Maybe I'll consult my 2 crippled attorneys. Maybe I'll get a better deal. I was like, where do I sign? When is the next elevator going down? When are we starting? So they're telling me, no. Think about it for 2 more seconds, because you cannot come back here after 120 years and say, I didn't feel like it. It was too hard to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was too hard for me to do this, this, and this. This I didn't believe in. That I didn't want to do. No. If you're accepting the deal, you have to do it. You cannot come back here again and say, I didn't want to. I didn't feel like it. The second that I agreed to the deal, it felt like I'm signing a contract. But not with a pen, not with lawyers. It felt like I'm shaking my hands with God. And the second that I shake my hands with God, I feel like God pushed me so hard, I feel like a train hit me. And the second that I feel this pain, I hear God telling me, "Ata chayav lachzor b'tshuva." You have to do tshuva. And the second that I feel this impact, I feel God pushing me back into my body And that same seconds, my eyes open up in this world. And I'm completely out of it. I wake up in a hospital. I don't know what's going on around me. All I see is a bunch of people around me. I don't hear what they're saying. I don't understand what they're saying. All I know, all what's going on in my mind is that I have to do a mitzvah. I don't hear what they're saying. I'm totally out of it. All that's going on in my mind is that I have to do a mitzvah. Like a little kid that his parents send him to a summer camp and they tell him, when you get there, call me so I know you came there safe. Now you have to understand, imagine how I look in that picture that I passed around. Long hair, tattoos all over my body, piercings all over my face, a complete nutcase. All that I'm thinking of is that I have to do a mitzvah. So at the time, I had a friend that started to become religious. And every time that I would meet him, he would tell me, you want to put tefillin on? I told him, no. So I call him up, 6 o'clock in the morning. He wasn't so religious, it was Saturday. He picked up the phone. So I tell him, Itzik, you got to come right now. I got to put tefillin on. He's like, what? I told him, Itzik, don't ask any questions. Just come right now with your tefillin. I have to put tefillin on. So he tells me, you can't put tefillin on. It's Shabbat. I told him, who cares what is it today? I have to put tefillin on. So he's telling me, what happened to you? He tells me in Hebrew, Ishtagata? You lost it? I told him, Itzik, I said questions at the end. You have to come right now with your tefillin. I have to put tefillin on right now. So he tells me, but you can't put tefillin on. It's Shabbat. I told him, a whole year you're trying to put tefillin on me. Now you're becoming technical. Shabbat, not Shabbat. Who cares? Now's your chance. He finally convinced me that I can't put tefillin on Shabbat. So I told him, so take me to a synagogue. I got to do something religious. And he's going crazy. What happened? What's going on? I told him, Itzik, I said the questions at the end. Take me to a synagogue right now. So he tells me, why don't you come tonight? It's Pesach. It's Leil Seder. So I said, oh, that sounds very religious. What do I need to do? Anyways, that night, he takes me to Borough Park, to my first Leil Seder in history. I'm 28 years old. I never made Seder in my life. He takes me to my first Leil Seder in history. I'm sitting there. Needless to say that I'm shocked in what's going on there. But I don't remember one thing from what I told you. Everything that I told you, nothing. I don't remember nothing. 2 weeks passed. I don't remember one detail. I knew something weird happened because I was a completely different person. Up until that day, I was this mean, rude, disgusting, vulgar, violent Israeli, that every word that came out of my mouth was a curse. If somebody would look at me the wrong way, I would punch him. I was like this rough guy. Suddenly I'm a nice guy. I go to work, hi, how are you? They're all like looking at me like, 2 weeks I don't remember nothing. One night I'm half asleep, half awake. Suddenly everything that I told you, plus the 99% I didn't tell you, all wakes up in one shot. I wake up in the middle of the night freaking out because I see all these scenes in my mind, and everything that I just told you, I suddenly remember everything. Now the first thing that I do, the girl that was with me in the cab is sleeping next to me. So I wake her up in the middle of the night. Now remember in the beginning I told you I dived into her body and I saw her entire life? I tell her, tell me, when you were 6 years old, did this and this happen to you? She's like, how do you know? Now I didn't want to tell her how do I know. So I told her, when you were 7, did that happen to you? She's like, yes. When you were 8, did that happen to you? Yeah. How do you know? Now I didn't want to tell her how do I know because I thought I lost it. I thought I'm cuckoo. I was like, this is not normal. But in my real mind, I was like, wait a minute. I'm under a deal. So I tell her another thing. And everything that I tell her, she's like, how do you know? Now I was afraid to tell her how do I know because I was like, if I'm going to tell anyone what I just told you, they'll be like, okay, sit down, relax. Now put your hands in this white jacket. Take this pill. The doctor's coming any minute. Don't worry. Just relax. I was like, if I'm going to tell any person what I just told you, they'll be like, okay, the guy's he's a lunatic. Now I was afraid to go to religious people. I didn't know what religious people think. All I see is a group of weird people, all dressed the same, swinging chickens over their heads, doing all sorts of weird things, and I'm going to go to them? They're crazy. They're more crazy than me. So I didn't know what to go. So I was like, you know what? I'm not telling it to anyone. I'm just going to figure it out. So I call my friend Itzik, and I tell him, tell me, how do I become religious? What do I need to do? So he tells me, there's a lot to do. I told him, okay, so give me the basics. So he tells me, okay, but first of all, you have to keep kosher. I told him, okay, so what do I eat? He's like, it's not what you eat, it's what you don't eat. I told him, okay, so what don't I eat? So he tells me, well, first of all, you can't mix meat and dairy. I said, okay, I'll learn meat and dairy. Okay, no more cheeseburgers. And then he tells me, and you can't eat also animals that you really like. I said, okay, I'll live with that. And then he tells me, you have to put tefillin on in the morning. I said, what are we talking about? He's like, it's not so bad, you just put it once a day in the morning. I told him, how long does it take? He told me 5 minutes. I told him, 5 minutes? I'll do it, no problem. And then he tells me, and you have to pray. I said, okay, when do we do it? He says, every day. I told him, every day? Is not enough once a month? He's like, no, we do it 3 times a day. 3? 1 is not enough? He told me, no, 3 times a day. I told him, okay. And then he tells me, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. I told him, Itzik, I told you, give me the basics. You don't have to go into details. So I go and buy tefillin, and I buy tzitzit, and I buy a prayer book, and I pack my bags, and I leave New York, and I go and move to Chicago. When nobody knows me, no friends, no parties, no action, no nothing. Just me and God. For 2 years I lived in Chicago. It felt like God is holding my hand and telling me, you are normal, do what you need to do, just do what you need to do. Now, I started putting tefillin in the morning and not eating meat and dairy, and the basics. But imagine when you're 28 years old to suddenly become religious. I couldn't do it. I was like, okay, I don't mind the meat and dairy. I don't mind the tefillin. I don't mind the little things. But don't give me the big things. Don't tell me now I can't go to movies anymore. Don't tell me I can't date girls anymore. No beach, no parties, no action, no Shabbat? To close the business on Shabbat? Are you out of your mind? I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too much. So I would only look for the easy things. So one time, I opened the prayer book and I found in microscopic letters that you can barely see, that it says that when you leave the bathroom, you have to wash your hands 3 times with a very funny looking cup, and then you say a blessing. So I was like, okay, that's easy, I'll do it. So I went and bought the funny looking cup, and every time I came out of the bathroom, I washed my hands, and I read the bracha. And I thought I'm the tzaddik of the generation. I thought I'm like a rebbe. I was like, nobody is more religious than me. Nobody in the world washes their hands. I'm like the only religious person. And one time, my friend Itzi comes to visit me. And he tells me, hey, I see you do Netilat Yadayim. I told him, Itzik, no. You know what I do? Every time I go out of the bathroom, I wash my hands 3 times and I say a blessing. He tells me, that's nothing. You know what the real religious people do? They go to bed, they put a bucket next to their bed, they put that cup next to the bucket, and when they wake up in the morning, they don't even put the feet on the ground and they wash their hands. I was like, what kind of a lunatic will do that? I was like, whatever didn't fit well in my mind, I was like, these religious people, they're making up all these rules. So whatever didn't fit in my mind, I was like, no, it's not a mitzvah. They're making it up. So I would only look for little things. And then at some point, I knew I had to keep Shabbat. Now, how do you keep Shabbat? I was like, okay, well, I can't drive. I can't answer the phone. I have to close the business. No movies. I can't do it. It's insane. So Shabbat would come and it would be like, starting next week, we're going to start. Friday would come. I would look at the clock. No, I didn't mean this week. I meant the following week. The following week would come. We'd be like, no. Today is not a good day to start. Next Friday, guarantee we're starting. And like this, every week I would push it for 3 months. One time, I realized something. I was a very heavy smoker. And when I was a soldier in the Israeli army, a religious guy met me and he told me, there's a God. I told him, he told me, you have an neshama in your body. I told him, I can recommend a mental institution to you. He's like, no, God loves you, and this and that. For a whole hour, he was trying to, outreach. And he came with all the sophisticated sentences, this, that, and I was like, listen, I don't buy it. After a whole hour that he's trying to convince me, I tell him, listen, I'm not buying your product today, just go home. So he tells me, listen, I see you're not really listening to what I have to say. Let me just tell you one thing. Maybe that will stick. So on Shabbat, you're not allowed to light fire. And on Shabbat, you're not allowed to extinguish fire. So if you must smoke on Shabbat, then at least don't turn your cigarettes out. So if you smoke 50 cigarettes a day, so you have 50 less sins. I was like, what? Are you serious? This is your religion? You telling me not to turn out cigarettes? Tell me not to kill. Tell me not to steal. I thought the guy is a complete nutcase. 10 years later, when I had to keep Shabbat, I was like, wait a minute. I just found a loophole. I'm going to smoke. I'm going to finish my cigarette. I'm going to put the cigarette in the ashtray. I keep Shabbat. So I would smoke, finish the cigarette, put it in the ashtray. Ani shomer Shabbat. And if somebody would ask me, of course I keep Shabbat. Yeah, but I just saw you drive. Driving is fine. I don't turn out my cigarettes. And for 3 months, that was my Shabbat. And if Chas v'Shalom would turn the cigarette out, they're sharpening the skewer now and getting on for me. And then I became very sophisticated because somebody told me, every time you turn on the light, it's Chilul Shabbat. I said, no problem, I leave all the lights on. And then somebody told me, you're not allowed to watch TV on Shabbat, it's Chilul Shabbat. And every time you flip the channel, you're desecrating Shabbat. So I said, no problem. I'll put my favorite channel, HBO, the whole Shabbos. No problem, I don't need to switch channels. I'll see the same thing, the whole Shabbat. And that was my Shabbat. And then my friend came and told me, on Shabbat you have to do Kiddush. I said, wine? Now you're talking. But I would do the mitzvah with all my heart. I would drive 60 miles to buy kosher wine. Because I lived in the middle of nowhere. And Shabbat would come, I had a beautiful suit just for Shabbat. And I would set up the table, make a beautiful meal. Shabbat would come, I would stand all happy and enjoy my Shabbat. And I bought like a fancy Kiddush cup and I would do the Kiddush and enjoy the meal. And then go out to watch a movie. And one time my friend comes to visit me and I tell him it's Shabbat, we got to do Kiddush. So he tells me, what? I told him, just sit down and listen. So I put my nice suit, I make my nice meal, I pull out my kosher wine, and we do Kiddush, and we drink the wine, we eat the food, and then we go out to a club. 4 o'clock in the morning, we're coming back from the club, and my friend tells me, listen, you're kind of making a joke out of the whole thing. I told him, why are you saying that? He's like, well, either you do Kiddush, and you keep Shabbat, and you stay home, or you don't. But you can't do Kiddush and then go to a club. You're making a joke. So I told him, listen, let me tell you what's going on. If you go now to a playground and you see an 8-year-old boy jumping up and down and climbing the ladders and doing all his tricks, nobody gets excited. Because all the 8 years old do the same thing. But if you see a 1-year-old baby taking a step, everybody gets excited. Guarantee within 3 minutes, 2,000 pictures are on Facebook. Every step of the child. He walked! Wow! Why does everybody get excited? Because he did something that is not normal. It's not usual. I tell him, what's going on now in Shamayim when I do Kiddush? I'll tell you what's going on. God calls all his angels, millions of angels. He calls them all, come. Look at my kid. Look what he did down there. He drove 60 miles to buy kosher wine. He could have bought wine in the corner store by the guy. He bought kosher wine. And look at that meal that he made. And did you see that suit? And check out that fancy cup. Look what he did. Can you believe what he did? He stopped his life for 5 minutes. For what? To acknowledge that I exist. To thank me for creating the world. To thank me for this wine. He stopped his day. Who cares that he's going next to a club? It's a baby. He can only do 1 step and he falls. And I told my friend, I'm this baby. I can't keep Shabbat now. It's too much for me. In a year or two, I will keep Shabbat, no doubt. But I have to take my steps like a baby. And right now I'm this baby. And this little mitzvah that I do, maybe it's 5 minutes. But I do it with all my heart, with the best of my money, with the best of my time, with all my excitement, the best food, the best everything for God. And in a year or two, I'm going to keep Shabbat. But now I'm a little baby taking steps. And my entire 2 years, that's how they were. Step after step. I couldn't become religious. It was too much. But I had a goal, and I was like, I'm going to slowly get there. And miraculously, after 2 years, I somehow got back to New York. And I was going through a very tough situation. And my friend told me, why don't you come tonight to the city in Torah? There's a little party. Relax, have some drinks and meet some people. Maybe you'll meet a nice girl. So I said, okay, fine. So he takes me to Torah in Manhattan, big room, a band is playing music, a little party. And I really didn't want to be there. So I felt real bad just getting up and walking out of the room. So I moved from here, one step to the right. And I'm smiling, and then I move another step. And after a minute, I move another step. Slowly, I make myself closer to the door. And when the time was right, I ran out. But instead of running out of the building, I ran into the synagogue. So I go into the synagogue, stands a rabbi, a long table, maybe 30 people around the table, and the rabbi tells me, come, join us. And I'm like, how am I getting out of that? And I'm like, no. It's very late, I gotta go home. And the rabbi, come, join us, we're about to start the class. And I'm like, no, my grandmother's in hospital and I gotta go and I'm giving him all the excuses in the world, just not to get to the class. So the rabbi convinces me and he puts me right next to him. And in my mind, I'm great. Now I'm stuck here for 2 hours. And the rabbi opens his mouth, and that was the first Torah class I was ever in history. I never heard Torah in my life. And I was mesmerized. I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I'm hearing. Comes the end of the class, I come to the rabbi, tell him, you must be some type of a genius. How do you know so many things? So he told me, if you enjoyed the class, why don't you come next Wednesday? There's another class. I told him, you didn't cover the whole Torah tonight? He's like, no, come next week. So I come next week, and the following week, and the following week. After a couple of weeks, I become very friendly with the rabbi. So he tells me, why don't you come to my house? I see you enjoy what I'm teaching. Every Thursday night, from 12 a.m., all night till 6 a.m., we study Zohar, and then we go to a mikveh, and then we get ready for Shabbat, we pray Shacharit, and why don't you come and join us? I told him, you know what, that sounds like an amazing idea. I have nothing else to do every Thursday night between 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. every Thursday night. Sure enough, I go to his house and I see a little room and the rabbi is sitting there, maybe 6, 7 people, and he's teaching Zohar the whole night. And everything that he says, and what is he talking about? Spiritual worlds, godly powers, souls, demons, angels, spooky stuff. And everything that he says, I'm like, wait a minute, I remember that. And then he says another thing, and I'm like, I remember that. And then he says another thing, and I'm like, that's not how it looks. After a couple of weeks, I tell myself, this rabbi must be cuckoo. Because if this is what he's teaching, maybe I can tell him what happened to me. So I go up to him and I tell him, something happened to me 2 years ago. I never told it to anyone. And I think you are the candidate. And he tells me, Bakasha, sit down. So I tell him the story. Comes the end of the story. He looks at me with these piercing eyes. And he tells me in Hebrew, Ata meshuga? Are you crazy? And I'm like, wow, now this guy thinks I'm crazy? And he's telling me, are you crazy? God did such a miracle to you and you're not doing anything? He freaked out. He rips my shirt out of my pants. You're not wearing tzitzit! He freaked out. You gotta go to yeshiva! What are you doing? The next day, 6 o'clock in the morning, he takes me to Monsey to a yeshiva. He pushes me into the yeshiva. Don't come out of here till I come and get you. 3 months passed from that day. I'm still waiting. I'm completely religious, 100%. From top to bottom. I look up to Shamayim and I tell God, look, first part of the deal, I'm religious. Now comes the second part of the deal. So I go to a rabbi, I tell him this is very embarrassing, but this is the resume. What do I do? So he tells me, okay, whatever you stole, you got to give back. I'm like, right. What do you mean I got to give it back? He's like, whatever you stole, you have to give back. And I was like, I don't have it. And he's like, okay, so what did you steal? So I said, okay, I stole this from this guy. Okay, how much is it worth? I told him, I don't know, $100. Okay, so take the $100 and give it back to the person. I'm like, are you serious? How am I going to find the person? It was 10 years ago. He's like, okay, so take the money and donate it to a poor family. So he starts giving me a whole list what to do. You stole, you have to give it back. You cheated in business, you owe that person money, and so forth. So a few months pass, I meet my wife. A few months pass, we get married. A few months pass, I have a little baby. I look again up to Shamayim and I say, second part of the deal. Then I have to start telling it to people. So in the beginning I had a very good crowd. I would tell it in the yeshiva. So I had a very good crowd because I was coming to affirm what they're learning. I would tell it to the rabbis. I had one rabbi that I would sit with him and I would tell him one part after the other, and every part I would tell him, he would stop me, he would tell me, hold on. He would go to the bookshelf, pull out a Gemara, open it and tell me, look, what you're saying is written here. And then I would tell him another part. He would go to the same bookshelf, pull out a Zohar, open the book and tell me, look, what you're saying is written in here. Everything he would pull out a book. So in the beginning I had a very good crowd. But then I had to tell it to normal people. So I got my first gig in a shul in Brooklyn, full of Israelis. Baruch Hashem, they didn't give out tomatoes in the entrance. Because if they had what to throw at me, they would use it. The whole night, they were cursing me. Shakran, you liar, get out of here. Who brought this nutcase here? The whole night they were bashing me. And in my mind, should I continue? Should I stop? What should I do? And they're cursing me and making fun of me the whole night. The whole night they're cursing me. One guy in the corner, I see him sweating. He comes to me at the end of the night shivering. He's telling me, I believe every word you said. What do I have to do? So I said, 99 were making jokes to me. One guy got it. That's enough. That's what I need. So I started telling it from one shul to another synagogue to another house. I would go around. And something changed about 4 years ago. Because I used to go from one place to another, just give a lecture, give a 6-hour lecture, and then go. Tell detail after detail. Something happened 4 years ago that totally changed my attitude. One day, out of the blue, my very healthy young brother-in-law was 39 years old. He went out for a jog. He got a heart attack, died on the spot. Left my sister, widow with 3 kids. One shot. Went out, heart attack, that's it, lights out. My sister calls me from Israel, tells me the news. I go on a plane. From the plane, I go straight to the cemetery. I go into the room where they prepare the body. I go in. Now in Israel, they bury the body in a talit. Here, they bury in a coffin. I see the body on the table. I look at the body. I pull out from my pocket a book of Tehillim, and I start reading Tehillim. My sister is standing next to me crying. And one eye, I'm looking at the book. One eye, I'm looking at the body. One eye at the book, one at the body. One at the book, one at the eye. And I was, wait a minute. He's on the ceiling. He hears my Tehillim. He's now flying over everything like I was flying. And he hears me saying Tehillim. And he sees my sister crying. And he hears my thoughts. And he knows what I had for breakfast. And he hears everybody. He sees everybody. I remember that. I saw everybody from above. I heard all the voices. I read everybody's minds. And I was like, so he's now flying above us. And in my mind I was like, wait a minute. Where is he now? Oh, I know where he is. Now they're taking him there. And now they're taking him there. And now this angel comes and slaps him from here. And now that is... And I was like, I know where he's going now. Because I was there. And that made me realize something very, very simple. Very, very simple. There's no point of me telling every little detail of the story. You know why? Because the entire thing happened to me, so I will become religious. You know what was my problem in Shamayim? When I was in my heavenly court, my problem wasn't that I wasn't religious. They didn't tell me, hey, you weren't religious. My problem was that I didn't even have a mitzvah. Not even one mitzvah. I wasn't able to tell them in the middle of the trial, stop the trial, I got the point. You're right. I didn't keep Shabbat. I didn't eat kosher. I didn't pray. I didn't learn Torah. I didn't give charity. You're right. But you know what I used to do? I used to put tefillin on every day. 5 minutes. I didn't even have that. I didn't even have one mitzvah to tell them you're right. I wasn't super Jew. I didn't feel like it. But I used to put tefillin on every day. And once a week I used to go to a Torah class. And on Shabbat I used to do Kiddush. And once a month I gave a check to the synagogue. I didn't even have a mitzvah. Can you imagine? So that made me realize there's no point of me telling you every little detail of the experience. Because most people, they leave the lecture 2 or 3 days after, they don't remember the details. I meet people that were in my lecture a year ago. Oh, I remember you. I know you have some crazy story. People don't remember the details. They go home and that's it. There's no point of telling every little part of the detail. The point is very, very simple. Each and every one of us has an expiration date right here. We all come down to this world with an expiration date. We don't know that date. One gets 80 years, one gets 60 years, one gets 40 years, one gets 20 years. Each one has an expiration date right here. How many people wake up in the morning, they go to work, business as usual. They come home, car accident, lights out, on the spot. How many people? How many people go to the bathroom, get a heart attack, died on the spot? My brother-in-law, 39. He didn't even say goodbye. He put his sneakers and went out to a jog. And that's it. Heart attack, on the spot. Now some people are very lucky. They get an email in advance. They get a notification. Habibi, you're about to die in 3 months. They get a sickness, no leino. They're telling him from Shamayim, you have time to do tshuva. You better get your act together. But most people don't get that notification. The expiration date comes like that. In 1 second, lights out. Then what? Then what happens? Then you realize, oh, I wasted my life. I sat in the back seat of the car in New York, in the cab. I was 28 years old. That's when the lights were about to go down. And then what? I realized that I wasted 28 years of my life. On what? On nothing. And it's too late. That's it. Lights are out, you're out. The reality is that each and every one of us is going to come to that date. How am I coming to that date? Am I coming prepared with a lot of mitzvot? Or am I coming not prepared? And then what? Gonna get hit on my head? And don't live in an illusion that you don't have an expiration date. We all have it. You are not the one who's going to live till 500 years. And you don't know when it is. Now, I'm not telling you walk around the street scared that an air conditioner is going to fall from the sky and bury you in the ground. But you have to live with the thought that, you know, I'm human. And one day I'm out. And then what? Then I'm going to go up there and what am I going to present? What am I going to show them? You know how this world is? I'll tell you how I saw the world. Very, very simple. Imagine somebody comes now and tells you, you see that jewelry store? I give you 3 hours, you go into that store, you take whatever you want. So one person says, listen, you know, I'm very good, I'm fine, thank you so much, you're a very nice person, I'm good. Another person says, really? So he goes in and he tells them, give me that watch, give me those earrings, give me that diamond ring, and give me those 2 necklaces. And the third person says, what did you say? 3 hours and I take whatever I want? He goes home and he brings boxes. And he fills the boxes with all the jewelry. This is this world. God tells you, I'm going to put you down in this world for 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, whatever he tells you. Whatever you take is yours. One person says, thank you so much, I'm very comfortable here. That's a stupid one. One person says, okay, no, fine, I'll do here a mitzvah, there a mitzvah. But the smart person says, what did you say? I have here 60, 70, 80 years, and every second I can grab a mitzvah, a diamond, and all day long, that's what he does. All day long, another mitzvah, another mitzvah, another mitzvah. This is this world. So the point is not to sit here for 2 hours and hear every little detail. And if you came and nothing happened, you walked out of this door and nothing changed, then you wasted 2 hours of your life. We're better on sitting at home watching a movie. But if you move out of this door tonight with a change in your mind, and you say to yourself, maybe this guy, this cuckoo, maybe he's 1% right. What am I doing tonight to change my life? Not tomorrow, not in 40 days on Yom Kippur. Tonight! What am I doing tonight that I didn't do yesterday? So tonight I'm going to say Kriyat Shema L'Mitah. It takes exactly 5 minutes. And tomorrow morning I wash my hands and I say the morning prayers. And if I don't pray, then I'm going to start putting tefillin tomorrow. And if I already put tefillin, then I'm going to pray. And if I already pray, I'm going to pray with a minyan. And if I'm not particular with kosher, tomorrow I'm not eating meat and dairy. Now is the time. Before the lecture, I told you you have a sale. You have 40 days of clearance. Hashem tells you, now you do it, now you grab it. Easy. I'll clean you up. You have an auspicious time because every one of you didn't come here because you saw a poster. You didn't come here because you got an email. You came here because from the heavenly court you were invited. Every person here was on a list. And God was saying, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming, she's coming, and a V, a note. Get him. Everything was turned around that you can come tonight. This was chosen from the world above. Not because you got an email. You know what a zchut it means to come tonight? God gave you a 99% discount tonight. Come, listen. If you're smart, you go out of the door, you grab something for free. If you're not, you go out of the door. You lost an opportunity. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says that every soul gets thousands of messengers his entire life. That soul cannot come up to the heavenly court and says, hey, you didn't tell me. What do you mean you didn't tell you? Look at this guy came and told you it's Shabbat today, and that guy came and told you Jewish, and that guy came and told you to put tefillin on. You were chosen from Shamayim to come tonight, listen what I have to tell you, and make your own calculation. Am I leaving this door tonight with a change, or am I leaving this door tonight with a full stomach because the pizza was very, very good? It's all in your hands. The reality is that there's no time. Some people, when I come to lectures, the rabbi catches me in the outside and tells me, scare them! Tell them they're going to be burnt in Gehenom! I don't see a reason to say that. You know why? You know, Mashiach has to come any minute. It's not a joke. It's not a dream. It's not an imagination. Mashiach is coming any minute. Do you really want to be not prepared? Can you imagine? You want to be caught with your pants down? Literally? Any minute he's coming. This is not a joke. This is not a dream. You know what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? You know that every person is going to have a personal meeting with the king? Now you're going to be invited to sit in front of the king, and the king is going to tell you, Naim Meod, what's your name? Shmulik. Where do you live? I live in Queens. What do you do for a living? Then he's going to ask you the $1 million question. What did you do to make me come faster? What are you going to answer him? What are you going to answer the king? I was on Facebook. I was in the... Can you imagine how embarrassing is it to look at the king and tell him I didn't do anything? He's going to tell you, you couldn't do a mitzvah? You couldn't pray? You couldn't go and affect your neighbor and tell him it's Shabbat today? The reality is that we're living in a very, very special time. It's not a joke. Mashiach is coming any minute. It's time to grab these diamonds, because when Mashiach comes, that's it. The stopper's out. The 3 hours are over. And if chas v'shalom somebody doesn't live to see it, you know what a zchut it is to see Mashiach coming? Some people don't have the zchut. They will leave this world before Mashiach comes. How do you want to go up to Shamayim? You want to go up empty-handed? Or with 3 mitzvot? Or you want to come with a barrel full of mitzvot? And you know what? A lot of people look at me and tell me, listen, you're a fanatic. I'm never going to be like you. You're crazy. You don't have to be crazy like me. I choose to be fanatic. There's a reason for that. You just need to keep Torah and mitzvahs. There is no difference between me or you. Or me and you. I'm a Jew, you're a Jew. I have to keep Shabbat, you have to keep Shabbat. I have to eat kosher, you have to eat kosher. There's no difference between me and you. You can add some extra things. Yeah, you can lehader b'mitzvot. But there's no difference between me and you. When Moshe Rabbeinu used to put tefillin on, it's the exact same tefillin I put. Don't look at me and say you're fanatic, because every Jew is obligated in the same mitzvot. Nobody has discounts. Nobody can come and say, oh, I was born between the year 74 to 78, so I have a discount, I don't have to do this and this. All the Jews are the same. They all have to keep the same mitzvot. And a lot of people tell me, I can't be like you, you're like fanatic. It's crazy. You know why I choose to be fanatic? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you a story. And that's where we're going to finish. There was once a king. And the king had an only son that never got married. And one time, finally, the son got engaged. Everybody in the kingdom got an invitation to the wedding. One guy got an invitation in the mail. You know how excited he got? You know what it means to get an invitation in the mail to go to the king's son's wedding? I'm going to be in the palace. He bought a new suit, new shoes. He hung the invitation on the wall. He got so excited. On the other side of town, one guy didn't get an invitation in the mail. He got a personal invitation from an entire entourage of people. The second to the king, ministers, generals, you name it, they all came to invite him. On the day of the wedding, the guy who got the invitation in the mail puts on his suit, puts on his new shoes, puts his invitation in his pocket, puts some gel in the hair. He walks out of the building. The second he walks out of the building, pouring rain. How am I going to get to the wedding now? He sees the bus coming down. He says, the second the bus comes right in front of my house, I'm going to run. His plan doesn't work so well. The bus doesn't see him and he drives off. He starts running after the bus. No, 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 the wedding. He starts running. Stop, stop. The bus driver doesn't see him and drives off. And he's running in the rain, getting pouring rain. He's getting soaking wet. He's screaming, no, the wedding. I got to get to the wedding. The bus drives off. And he's running in the rain. He falls into a puddle, gets soaking wet. He gets out of the puddle. He's walking in the rain, soaking wet. A group of robbers come. They beat him up. They rob him. He's going through hell. On the other side of town, the guy that didn't get the invitation in the mail, the guy that got the invitation by the entourage of people, a whole entourage of people come to pick him up. Limousines are lined up in front of his house. Helicopters in the air, soldiers surrounding the building. They're carrying like this into the limousine. The wet guy finally gets to the wedding 12 o'clock at night. He comes, the gates are already closed, the guards are already outside of the palace. He's coming soaking wet, blood from here. The guards tell him, can we help you? He tells them, yes, I'm invited to the wedding. They tell him, can we see your invitation, please? He says, no problem. He puts his hand into his wet pocket. He pulls out the invitation. It's so wet, it's soaking wet, there's nothing left of it. The guards tell him, we're very sorry, we can't accept this as an invitation. You can't come in. What? Are you out of your mind? Check your lists. I'm telling you, I'm invited to the wedding. You need an invitation, sir. An invitation? I'm telling you, I'm invited. Check your lists. You can't come in. He's like, are you out of your mind? You know what I went through to come to this wedding? Look at me. I'm soaking wet. I'm gushing blood. I'm starving. I didn't eat anything all day long. They're telling me, are you hungry? No problem. One of the guards go in, comes out from the kitchen with a plate of sushi, tells him, here, take. Gives him a bottle of 7-Up. Here, eat. Relax, sit down. He's telling them, are you crazy? I'm invited to the wedding. You got to let me in. You can't come in. He's looking through the gates. Maybe he can see somebody inside that he knows. Maybe he can pull some strings. And he sees at the end of the room, the king sitting on the stage. Next to the king is the bride and groom. And on this side of the king, sitting the guy who came with all the limousines. He turns to the guards and he tells them, guys, I'm telling you, I'm begging, I'm invited to the wedding. You're not coming in. The story comes to teach us a very simple thing. Our sages teach us, Kol Israel yesh lahem chelek la'olam haba. All the Jews have a place in the world to come. They just forgot to mention one thing. We're all invited to the wedding. The question is, how are you going to get to the wedding? And when you're finally at the wedding, where are you going to be? Are you going to be next to the king? Or are you going to be outside, wet, with a plate of sushi? That's the message. This is this world. We all are invited to the wedding. All of us. We're all going to get there. I choose to go first class. I choose to sit next to the king. I don't want to be outside. I don't want to be in the crowd. I don't want to go with a rocky takeoff. I want to go up like a ballistic missile, first class, and sit next to the king. So my entire day is devoted to God. Every thought is for God. Every word is for God. Every act is for God. I'm not missing one thing. As hard as it is, it's 20, 30, 40 years. That's what it takes. We all are invited to the wedding, but some people are going to be outside wet, hungry. They're going to look inside and be like, hey, but you told me I'm invited. Yeah, you're invited, but you have to stay outside. This is this world. Every second in this world is one step closer to the king. Every mitzvah you do is one step closer to the king. Every time you close your mouth from lying, you're one step closer. Every time you close your eyes from not looking in the wrong place, one step closer. It's not what you don't do, it's what you do. A lot of people say, no, listen, I'm not really religious, I don't really observe the Shabbat. What's the point? There is a point. Because if you're doing 0%, at least do 1%. You know, people tell me, I don't observe the Shabbat, so what's the point? What do you mean you don't observe? So at least start with 5%. Don't turn the light off. Don't turn your cigarette out. Don't flip the channels. Don't answer your phone. You can't do 100%, do 5%. But if you're not going to start, you're never going to get there. Don't look at what you don't do and say, I'm not religious, so what's the point? There is point, because you need to do one step after the other. You can't say, okay, the road is too long, I can't do it. So the point is very, very simple. What you need to take from tonight is that you need to leave this door and say, what am I doing tonight to make sure that the next day is better than what I did yesterday? And the next day I do what I didn't do the day before. And the next day what I didn't do the day before. And I have 35 days. I'm coming in front of the king, the real court. How am I coming now? I have now the opportunity in 5 weeks to refine myself, that when I stand in front of God, I'm clean already. I can do tshuva now. Mashiach will come after Rosh Hashanah and I'm clean. And if chas v'shalom, it's decreed that I have to go up there, I clean. And this is the opportunity you have tonight. Don't walk out of this door and say, okay, no, nice story. He gave us some nice jokes. No. Take the opportunity to go out of this door and say, tonight is the night where I'm taking the change. This is an auspicious time. I have the koach tonight. You take on yourself one mitzvah that I'm doing tonight, not saying, okay, when I'm going to be 42, I'm going to start keeping Shabbat. No. Tomorrow morning I'm going to put tefillin on. Tomorrow morning I'm saying Birkot HaShachar. Tomorrow morning I'm stopping with this and I'm stopping with that. This coming Shabbat, I'm accepting Shabbat 10 minutes earlier. I'm going to make an extra dish. I'm going to be more tznuah. I'm going to cover my hair. Something! Don't let this time pass, because there's no time. There is no time. I can sit now and tell you another 5 days of every little thing that I remember. There is no point. No point. The point is simple. It's to walk out of this door with a big change in your life. So I wish you great success in every little thing that you do. A lot of koach to make a big change now in your heart and in your mind. And Hashem will bless you with success and abundance of health and wealth and yirat shamayim and avat Hashem, and that you do your tshuva, and Hashem forgives whoever wants to do really tshuva. Kadosh Baruch Hu chafetz b'tshuvatam shel reshaim. Kadosh Baruch Hu is waiting for the tshuva of a wicked person. So much more so, each and every one of you. He's waiting for you just to say, okay, I got the point. That is it. And don't say, okay, I'm doing so many bad things, I can't even start. Start. So you lie 100 times a day, tomorrow you lie 99 times a day. And you're looking 100 times a day, you're looking in the wrong place, so tomorrow you look 90 times the wrong place. And next week 80 times. You start somewhere. You start somewhere. Say, okay, I'm doing a list of bad things, tomorrow I'm reducing it. Where can I add? So every day I'm going to add one mitzvah, and every day I'm going to diminish 10 averot. I want to lie today, I'm going to close my mouth. I want to tell my best friend something, some juicy information that I heard, bang your head at the wall, just don't say it. The point is also to reduce as much as you can. Refine yourself. It can be done. Just look at the value. If you put value for something that you do, it would be easy to do it. If you don't see value in something you do, you're never going to do it. Why do you wake up in the morning to go to work? There's value to it, because at the end of the week I get a check. If I tell you come and put tefillin on for 5 minutes, the mind says, what am I getting out of here? If I'm not getting anything, I don't want to wake up in the morning, because there's no value. You have to understand the value of each mitzvah. If you understand the value, it will be easy to do it. So I wish you great success in everything that you do. And Hashem should bless you that this coming year should be a year of success, and a year that you should all merit to see Mashiach with your eyes. And we should all merit to go to Eretz Israel. Everything that your heart desires should be fulfilled on the best side. And remember one very simple thing, that every little thing that you do in this world, it echoes in eternity. You do bad in this world, it will echo bad. You do good in this world, it would echo good. In the world to come, in Gan Eden, in Yemot HaMashiach, in Olam Haba, echo good. You hear the echo from the microphone? Good! See how it echoes? That's how you want it to echo in the world to come.